Let's talk about the kids that are at home and really cannot really interact with people outside of the home because there's significant health issues inside the home, or they themselves or for somebody else in the family. That's one scenario. Scenario two is online instruction, but there's opportunities to go outside and have some interactions. And scenario number three are the kids that are going to school already. So let's start with the most difficult scenario, which is the children that are at home and really have little opportunity to go outside because of significant health concerns. I think we can all relate that back in March and April, those Zoom parties were awesome and we all had fun and some of us dressed up and we look forward to these. But then came the fatigue of once again, we're on the computer. So we're on the computer for school and now we're on the computer for socializing. And that sort of passed. So what can we do? And I think the most important thing is to start by acknowledging it, to acknowledge the social isolation, to how the child feels about it, and empathize with them. Because if there's one thing that I think we've all experienced through this pandemic has been the social isolation, the not being able to do the things that we used to do, and particularly be around people, even for as small as grocery shopping, small things like that. If I think of some other countries in Europe that actually had lockdowns that were so severe that literally you were limited to the store, the bank, the doctor's office, or an emergency, certainly social isolation became a big thing. So it's getting creative with what you can and can't do. If you have a child that is homebound, what are the things that you can work with your child to try to create some social experiences? We do know medically, and this is why it's important to think about the medical perspective, that having kids that are socially distant and outside is a safer scenario than mask inside. So the ideal situation, if we had to pick, is social distant outside. So are there some opportunities that would be feasible for a child that's at home to be able to do something outside while still socially distant? To think about that. Let's go to scenario number two, which is online instruction, but I have some social interactions, but they're not what I want it to be. And I certainly can share with that. One of my children is 14 years old. And the day before school started in person in August, my husband at dinner asks all of us, what are your reflections about what it was like to be on lockdown? And my oldest said, I don't think I've ever cried so much. And it's true. She's a very calm kid and very reflective kid, but she's also an athlete. And all her sporting activities got taken away. And she's a very want to be involved kid. And so suddenly all those activities, those after school events, those clubs, those volunteer activities were taken away. And so it really was about acknowledging that because we couldn't take that pain away. But acknowledging it and listening to her speak, I think, was very important. And then even if we talk about being back in school, as parents, we will be having to make some difficult decisions. I think the most difficult scenario is when your family has a different set of rules than another family. So another family might allow sleepovers. Another family might allow parties. Another family might allow, let's get everybody in our car and go someplace. And your family might not be there. So being able to talk to kids in advance about what you are willing and not willing to allow and the reasons why. Why are you not okay with your child having a sleepover? And I'm like, well, I think you need to explain that and offer alternatives. But there's a reality that we can't take away, that there's some kids that we just from health reasons will need to protect, and get creative about how we connect them with other children. And they are great resources to give you ideas too. I have a friend whose third grader threw himself a birthday party and planned online game, which had been approved by the parents in advance. So asking the kid what they think they would be able to do is also another resource.